Haven't won since 1992. I think it's the longest playoff drought. The second longest playoff drought being the Detroit Lions in 1994, I believe was the last time they went in. Do you see Cincinnati making the playoffs anytime soon and winning in the playoffs at least one game?
Yeah, I was actually going to correct you. I was going to say I think they've been there the last 3 seasons.
But they can't get a win.
No, they can't win, which is very strange. And it's like funny because anytime I talk to you or any of our other friends about Cincinnati, I always looked at Andy Dalton as another version of Eli Manning. And it's like, okay, when he lost his first 2 playoff games, that third year, I thought that was his year.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like every year, they're like the Washington Capitals of the NFL. It's like I bet on this team every season, and they don't show me anything in the playoffs. In all honesty, I thought Cincinnati had that game was won by Cincinnati when they played Pittsburgh last year in the playoffs. But of course, Vontaze Burfict, who had his issues in college, ended up costing them that game with his unsportsmanlike hit on.
Yeah, I want to go back to last year's playoffs. I mean, there was a lot of upsets. That was a pretty big upset in my eyes. I mean, I didn't see Pittsburgh pulling out that game at the end. And then same thing with Minnesota and the missed field goal.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was shorter than an extra kick.
Poor Blair Walsh. It seems like he's still struggling with that. I've watched this guy this year.
I remember watching that game. I mean, you talk about a defensive game. That game, I can't imagine being a fan, spending all this money on a playoff ticket, going out in literally 1-degree weather, having your beer freeze to your hand, and having a beer slushy, and then your team losing on missing an extra point kick from like 24 yards or whatever.
It was like 30 yards. Like you at least make $1 million, I would believe. Blair Walsh, I looked at as one of the star kickers in the NFL a few years ago. This guy missed from 30 yards. At the same time, though, I mean, come on, go in his shoes. The guy's in negative 50 degrees out there trying to kick a football.
I think it was the laces.
You kicked that football.
I think it was the laces out thing. I think it got him. If you watch the replay, I'm like 95% positive you could see the laces were out, and it phases some kickers so much he just hooked it, and it was hard to believe watching it. You think there'd be a flag or someone hit it prematurely or something happened, but it was a clean kick that just did not go through. And what's so great about football is that can happen, You can have a guy hit it 99% of the time, but that 1% of the time when you need it, sometimes it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so definitely some disappointments last year in the playoffs. But back to Cincinnati, we kind of got off topic with that one. Cincinnati, it seemed like, they had their opportunities in the past of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, they're 2-3. They're heading to New England this week. So how I'm looking at it, they'll be 2-4. As long as, they're not done, they're not eliminated from the playoffs, I think the AFC North is too tough a division for them to. And they still have to play Baltimore twice and Pittsburgh again once. So it's going
to be tough. That's a tough division. I think that's honestly probably one of the toughest in the league, besides Cleveland, obviously.
Yeah.
But, you have 3 teams really duking it out for the top spot, and it always seems. It usually ends up going to the Steelers. It looks sometimes it went to the Ravens that one in 2012, but for the most part, it seems like it goes to the Steelers, and the Steelers play, and then either the Cincinnati Bengals or the Ravens end up fighting for the wild card spot.
Yeah, and and Cincinnati has not shown me. This year especially, but also
especially that Cowboys game we just watched.
Yeah, they really didn't show much in that game. They had a little late heroic, effort to come back.
It wasn't enough.
It was way too much, and you got to give credit to Dallas. That team is playing football right now.
Yeah, it's scary. They're a team on the up. Another team on the up that I wanted to talk about was the Oakland Raiders.
Wow.
Who would have saw this one coming?
How about them Raiders? 4-1 for the first time since their last playoff game, and that was the year that they were in the Super Bowl in 2002.
Pretty crazy to be a football fan in California. You have the Rams coming back to LA, and the Raiders are good now.
I know. Both teams looking pretty impressive to start out.
Let's just talk in general about LA sports fans. You have the Lakers on the up now. A couple good draft picks, it looks like.
Can't really say on the up yet. They did win, 15 games a year ago.
Well, I know, but
I get what you're saying.
There's a lot of hope in this city in that, the Lakers are on the up. You have Golden State in California, which is obviously...
San Francisco. San Francisco.
Well, I'm just talking in the state of
California, but it's unfair. They have 30 sports teams.
This is true. But
come on, we live in the city of Philly. We have 4 sports teams.
Yeah.
This big old city or this big old state has 45.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if you look at LA sports though, like you were talking about, like you were discussing, you have Oakland, you have actually, honestly, Golden State's more considered Oakland than San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But so you have the Rams, you have the Dodgers who are actually in the NLCS.
And that was the other team I was going to bring up. Yeah.
And I mean, it's definitely
the LA Kings.
Yeah, the Kings who've won a couple Stanley Cups. It's definitely looked good out there. I mean, lucky California fans.
Yeah, it seems like LA on the West Coast and Boston on the East Coast as of late have been the 2 main cities where you're seeing a lot of sports wins or championships on almost every sport.
Yeah, and you got to look at it. I mean, California's living the life right now. They're enjoying their weather while we're freezing out here with our hoodies on. And, their sports teams are winning, and none of ours are. Even though I am a Golden State Warriors fan, so I'm with California somewhat.
Who do you think? So I'm looking at Seattle and the Falcons, and I'm thinking to myself, will the Falcons pull off an upset here?
It's so tough to say.
Is the 12th man going to get to that Atlanta offense?
It's so tough to say because it's like every time you expect an upset, which I believe many people are expecting the upset this week, of Atlanta showing up. They're the best offensive team statistically in the NFL right now. I know, a lot of people will have that argument, but statistically on paper, they are the best offensive team in the NFL.
And Julio having a breakout year. And Matty Ice.
Matty Ice is playing phenomenal. He's playing like the guy I remembered coming out of Boston College. The guy who led the Falcons to a couple straight playoff years. Obviously, he's had his issues in the playoffs as well. But, it's definitely tough to say because I can never bet against Seattle, especially in Seattle, because it seems like when it comes time to play that tough team who everyone's, thinking, oh, they can beat Seattle, seems like Seattle comes to play.
Yeah, I also think that, Atlanta's also in a very weak division this year. I thought that they were going to have to be competing with Carolina for the top of the division. That doesn't look like it's happening.
No.
I mean, I think that they're going to end up winning the division. The problem is the defense, there obviously their defense isn't that great. Will that become a problem if and when they make the playoffs?
I think it will become a problem. I mean, I think that there can be some issues that are fixed there, especially considering Dan Quinn, who's their head coach, is actually an ex-Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So for some reason, they can't figure out the defense, and that's his specialty. So it really doesn't make sense to me. But regardless, I think Atlanta can fix those problems. And a big thing was actually, especially what the Cardinals did, which led them to the NFC Championship game last year, was that key pickup of Dwight Freeney, who does not play the entire game, but he's there for the fourth quarter for that pass rush. Yeah. And that's what Arizona did so well, and he played excellent in that position last year, and he's doing it again in Atlanta. So that's why Atlanta's winning a lot of these close games, is because of that late pass rush that Dwight Freeney brings to the team.
Yeah, and I think they're going to need that if they head into the playoffs this year. I mean, I think that they will. Like we said, the NFC South isn't that tough. Moving to the AFC South, we have another weak division here, because with Houston, it seems like they can't get much going on offense. Then they lose their best defensive player in J.J. Watt to IR, having back problems, I believe. And it looks like the Colts aren't really going to do much this year either. I mean, that offense, is it the offense or the defense, do you think, that's holding Indianapolis back?
The Colts, it is their offensive line.
Yeah, I did notice that. Andrew Luck does not have any time in the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Luck, he's playing the best he can, and I still believe Andrew Luck's one of the elite quarterbacks. But, you need an offensive line to protect you, and that was something Eli Manning, which I witnessed for years, who, when he doesn't have an offensive line, you can't do much. And, it's all the blame goes to the quarterback. Like, if Indianapolis is losing, it's going to fall on Andrew Luck. And that's why it's so tough to be a quarterback. But at the same time, it's really the offensive line to blame. And you you have to protect your quarterback. So no wonder why Aaron Rodgers is out buying his offensive lineman steak every time they play a game.
It's funny. I work with a guy who used to be an O-lineman, and even in high school, the kids, they never allowed a sack in high school, right? And the kids, the quarterback's mom actually went out and got them all the offensive linemen gift cards because she said, thank you for protecting my son. Because he was about 6 foot 140, and if he took one hit, that kid was probably out for the rest of the season. So if you're a quarterback, you got to treat your O-line almost like your girlfriend. You got to wine and dine them and do whatever you have to so they're always protecting you.
Hey, they are the ones protecting you. They're taking that bullet.
So I want to switch speeds here for football, and me and Matt are now working out on this new program called is Coach Jim, right? And it's the shortcut to size. So what do you think of it so far, the workout?
Oh, so far, I mean, I've had a couple ladies actually staring
Whoa.
at me after only 5 weeks. 5 weeks of this program. It's a 12-week program. I must say, whatever Coach Jim is calling is definitely been working out.
I agree. It's definitely working. The only problem I have with it is this exercise. If anybody's looked into it, it's on bodybuilding.com. You can buy it's like a bundle of like different supplements and the actual workout plan and all that other stuff if you want to. All on bodybuilding.com. I like it. The problem that I have the most is just the time. It seems like me and Matt, when we do it together, it seems to take at least an hour and a half to 2 hours. Now, we also go during rush hours. There's like people on machines. There's, a lot of wait time and stuff. So if you want something, like if you're trying to get back in shape, this might not be the best to just jump right into. Because if you don't want to spend more than an hour in the gym, I don't think there's any way. Unless you do it by yourself and pretty fast, I don't think there's any way you're going to get out with it before an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's exactly why I think me and you have had so many issues, trying to get big. It also comes to laziness from both of us, can't just blame one. At the same time, if laziness is there, there's going to be an issue. That's why I think we've had so many hard times trying to keep up with this program, because it is really an everyday thing, whether or not you see the rest days on there. It's only there's only really 4 days where you're working body parts, and you have 3 days of rest, some cardio, which is kind of expected on that rest day. It's a very difficult program, but I guess it makes sense for people who are trying to get back into shape.
Yeah, and I realize with, when I start doing workout programs, I find that everything kind of falls into place. Like, my diet gets better, especially when I'm on a schedule. Like, me and Matt are both college students, but right now I'm working a full-time job. So it's a lot easier to stay on, like, a routine and a set schedule.
The guy works, like, 20 hours a week.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. But anyways... It's a lot easier to get my nutrition and everything because I'm on a very set schedule, so I know at this time I have, X amount of time to get a meal ready.
He still eats gummy multivitamins, people.
Yeah, and they're delicious. And that's why, hey, you gotta do when you're working out, you should always be trying to buy, not the most expensive stuff, but buy something to invest in yourself. Because if you buy workout clothes that you don't really like, you're not gonna want to put them on and go work out. But if you look good in the workout clothes, or you like the the material rather, I feel like you're going to be a lot more apt to go out and want to work out in your workout clothes.
Agreed.
And not only that, but, if you spend a lot of money on it, it's almost an investment of, if I don't use this, then it's just a waste of money.
Here's something what I recommend. If you find a gym buddy, find one who actually comes.
This is true. I mean, and a gym buddy is definitely, like, the best thing to have for me. If Matt wasn't here, I'd probably be, like, 100 pounds overweight because I would never want to go. And when I did, I would just want to play basketball.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't be 100 pounds overweight because that's actually a good workout.
And it is, but I feel like I wouldn't be playing it as long. I'd be winded.
You'd be flabby.
Yeah.
But, anyway, no, in all honesty, I mean, a gym buddy is definitely a good thing to have because it comes from both parts, to keep you going. Me and Steve have been going to the gym for a couple years now. Really didn't start seeing a progression until we started this 12-week program where we're only 5 weeks into it. I mean, Steve's been bigger than me for a while, but he also has the advantage being short.
Yeah, this is true. I'm a midget. Nah. I do like the workout program, but I do miss when me and Matt will kind of make up our own workout plans. The problem with that is, and what I found from a lot of other bodybuilders is, if you keep training the same body part the same way, you're really not going to inspire it to grow, because the muscle starts to learn and expect certain workouts. So it may feel like you're really tired, but your muscle really didn't break down that much because it's expecting that. So what they always say is you have to trick the muscle. So what that means is you have to do different workouts with different weights and different reps, and that's what this gym's workout's doing. Every week it's a little bit different. Like in the beginning it was very high reps, then about a week or two ago it was like lower reps, and now we're back up to high reps. So it keeps your muscle kind of guessing to always make it grow.
Yeah, and it's definitely like it's definitely a great workout program, considering me and Steve, like I said, have been going to the gym for 2 years. And honestly, I felt like we were doing everything wrong, considering when we started this program, every body part started hurting again.
Yeah, this you always feel fatigued after this workout, this shortcut to size. I feel like I like Matt said, like we just started lifting again, because when you start lifting, most people don't want to go back because they're like, oh my god, am I going to feel like this every single time I lift? Like, is it going to hurt this much? Am I always going to be this numb? And the answer is no. The more you lift, the less you feel it. Definitely protein shakes and vitamins and everything help the recovery process, so it's not hurting as much. But your muscles do learn how to repair themselves faster the more you work out.
Yeah, definitely agreed. You kind of threw me off with this topic, so I honestly don't have much left to say.
Oh, but just that, this is the workout we're trying. We want to keep you guys posted. We'd like to hear your comments and everything about what you guys think about this workout, if you've done it, or other workout plans you guys may be on. So let's move. I want to go back to baseball and the MLB for a little bit. Obviously, there was a lot of knockouts this week. As we're recording, it is October 14th, Friday, and we're looking back, and I can't believe that it's coming down to Cleveland and Toronto, and then the Cubs and the Dodgers. I didn't expect, in the beginning of the season, if you told me those 4 teams were in the playoffs, I could expect the Cubs, probably the Dodgers. The Indians, to me, were a little bit of a surprise. I thought it would end up being the Orioles, especially taking that division. But I could also see Toronto. So the one surprise for me, I guess, was Cleveland. Did you have any surprises with this playoffs?
I mean, there's definitely a few surprises in there. I could, like you said, I definitely could have saw Toronto. Cleveland was definitely a big surprise for me, considering, the defending World Series champions come out of the same division.
Yeah.
I know they had a lot of injuries this year. I mean, God bless that team. But Cleveland, they definitely came out to play this year. Terry Francona led this team all the way. Their pitching rotation was great. Their offense hits the ball, and their bullpen is fantastic. They picked up a couple pieces like Andrew Miller and a couple other guys. But yeah, Cleveland was definitely a huge shock. And the other one really, not as much of a shock to me.
Are you talking about Toronto?
No, I'm talking the Dodgers.
Oh, okay.
They're not that much of a shock to me because of all the money that they really spend. This team spends more money than the New York Yankees now.
Yeah.
And I think they are $100 million over the New York Yankees cap.
I think that it's almost, for the Dodgers, this is like desperation, trying to win a world. Not desperation per se, but really just going all out, doing everything they can to win the World Series this year.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy to me is, because they were talking last night when I was watching the Game 5 post-game show, and they were saying, or Dave Roberts, the manager, was saying, this team fights, and there's not a lot of pieces here, but this team fights and digs. And it's just like, there's not a lot of pieces here, but you have the biggest budget in baseball, which doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, honestly, when I look at the team, it's like, who are you paying? I mean, I get you had Adrian Gonzalez, and then there's a couple guys who they got from Boston a few years ago who they still owe money to. There's a big payroll there in Los Angeles. But the Dodgers really, they impressed me this year with how they played without their star player in Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
And Clayton Kershaw last night looked like Madison Bumgarner.
Oh, lights out.
This guy pitched literally a day and a half ago, 110 pitches, I think 7 innings, and he comes back a day and a half later and closes the game.
Critical moment.
If that's not Madison Bumgarner to a T, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and you got to wonder how risky is it, but you have to risk it for the biscuit in some businesses.
And this guy's coming back to pitch Game 2 of this series, so...
Yeah, definitely something to keep your eye on if that fatigue's going to catch up to him, because when they did that with Madison Bumgarner, that wasn't until the World Series. You know, they're not even in... They're just starting the ALS, I believe, right?
Yep.
And they're just starting it, and now he's not going to have much rest. Probably fatigue. Is it going to hurt them if they make the World Series?
It definitely could depend, and it could hurt them in the long run too.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously won a championship, but they have paid this guy so much money that it is worth injury. Like, this guy is long term, and it is definitely worth major injury. At the same time, there's never been a problem with Bumgarner after what he's done in his postseason runs. But the Dodgers, let's look at it this way too. If you look at it, Game 4. Chase Utley, the game-winning hit, which sent this series into Game 5. Game 5, Carlos Ruiz, game-winning hit. Both players who played on the 2008 Philadelphia Phillies team. Who did Chooch hit the game-winning hit to in left field? Jason Worth. So it just seemed like a Philadelphia, reunion out there. Too bad Ryan Howard isn't playing somewhere out there.
Yeah, unfortunately he's not. But I think that it is worth it to risk it, because you can make the argument, is Chicago going to be harder to beat rather than the Blue Jays or the Indians in the World Series? You have to kind of make a guess of, which one's going to be harder.
Yeah, now here's how I look at it with, Madison Bumgarner, who, like I said, pitched in Game 4 through 110 pitches, came out a day and a half later to close the game out. I think he threw 20 pitches, maybe 15. But regardless, now he's going to go to Chicago and pitch Game 2, which is Sunday. So that gives him a three-day breather, which is still short rest for Major League Baseball pitchers.
Yeah.
So really what this is telling me is the Dodgers really look at a key to winning this series by taking one of those two games in Chicago. And that's why they are putting Clayton Kershaw on that mound in Game 2, because they want to take one in Chicago. In all honesty, if the Dodgers take Game 1 in Chicago, I would not be surprised if they say, okay, Kershaw is going Game 3. Wouldn't be surprised if they didn't change their mind. But if the Chicago Cubs win Game 1, I guarantee Kershaw is on that mound for Game 2 to try to win that one.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. I think, like I said, you have to risk it for the biscuits sometimes. And with Kershaw, you're taking a big risk here, but the reward is obviously a ring, and that's what everybody's playing for. You just don't want to hurt him, especially not even in the short term as much, but in the long term, because this Dodgers team looks like it could be good for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely questionable. I mean, obviously you have Kershaw, who you have locked up for years. I mean,
you do have older players. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. When I say a while, I mean, a good couple, maybe 2 or 3 years.
I mean, here's the risk that you're also coming forth to is Clayton Kershaw had injury problems this season.
Yeah. And
now you're risking this guy going 110 pitches, pitching the following day. And then he's going to come out 3 days later, start another game. Like, the guy's already battled through injury problems this season. Luckily, the Dodgers thought that his season was over halfway through when he got hurt mid-season.
Mm-hmm.
But, now he's going out there pitching every other day. It's crazy to me. But I can't blame the Dodgers, because it's like this team who has the highest payroll in baseball, and it seems like they can never get out of the first round of the playoffs since I think 2009 was the last time they did it, and the Phillies obviously taking them out 2 straight years. And it just seems like to me they are desperate to win now. They kind of want to show that this payroll is going to pay off. And I think if the Chicago Cubs, which I believe will beat them, I think when the Chicago Cubs beat them in the NLCS, I think this Dodgers team and the ownership starts, trying to discover new things, because you have a Colorado Rockies team, obviously their offense, who is dominant, playing in kind of a little league ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
But you have Colorado's coming up. Trevor Story was a great story this year, in all honesty. But, and then you have the Diamondbacks, who can't figure anything out, but the Giants are always there. And then, there's going to be teams who are going to come up and catch that Dodgers team. So if they can't win this year, I think that ownership's going to really have to rethink on how to process this team.
So switching topics before we get out of here. A controversy that I heard today on ESPN was that if Dwayne Wade said, if LeBron James signed with the Chicago Bulls in the summer of 2010, things probably could have been different. Do you agree with that statement, or?
I'm sorry, what was that?
So Dwayne Wade said that if LeBron James joined the Bulls, if they both went to the Bulls instead of the Heat, that it could be a different story, meaning that I think what he meant was they might have won more championships and they might have stayed together. Do you agree with that, or?
I'm actually really confused on that. I don't know if they're looking at payroll situations or, something to do with the league.
I want to look at the article just to double check. Here it is. Dwayne Wade opens up about almost signing with the Bulls in 2010. This article goes on to say that Dwayne Wade almost became a Chicago Bull in the summer of 2010. Now, obviously, Dwayne Wade is on the Bulls in 2016. Wade said that he had to explain why LeBron James didn't sign with the Bulls in 2010. Wade goes on to say he had the opportunity for us three to play together, meaning Dwayne Wade, LeBron, and Chris Bosh wanted to play in Chicago, but LeBron James didn't want to. And what he was basically saying was, if they played in Chicago, would it have been different than if they played in Miami?
I don't see any difference there. I mean, you had Derrick Rose. Maybe that's another factor, but at the same time, I don't think you can afford guys like Derrick Rose, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and if Chris Bosh went with them too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the team would have mattered. I don't exactly know what Dwayne Wade is trying to say in this article, because it just seems like he wanted to play in Chicago just because it was his hometown. There was a lot of rumors back then that, he was going to go back to Chicago and try and win it for his hometown. It's just hard to say. I don't really think it would have made that much of a difference. I mean, those three were obviously the big three, with some other pieces scattered in there, but I don't think it really would have mattered if they were on Chicago or Miami. But you know what? Maybe it could have made a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see much of a difference regardless of where they're playing. The big three was a dominant team. They had a couple championship years. And a couple times they lost. I think they were 2-2 together in the NBA Finals. Made the NBA Finals every year.
And, Wade goes on to say it might have been easier if they had Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose on that team, too.
Oh, I mean, it could be, but at the same time, it's like looking at the Golden State Warriors this year. Would the chemistry be there all together, Because you're looking at 3 NBA superstars, but now you're putting another NBA...
Yeah, almost 5.
Back in 2010... Derrick Rose was an NBA superstar.
Yeah, before all the ACL tears.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really look at Noah as a NBA superstar.
That's why I said almost. I mean, Noah is good, but I don't think he's a superstar type.
I mean, also, it could be a question whether, they're saying if Dwayne Wade's bringing this up, he could be trying to say this team could have been better than what the Golden State Warriors of 2016 and 17 are good. I mean, I have no idea what this guy's trying to say, but
I think he was just saying that if they signed there, they would have had Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah on the team. And the year I think 2011, Derrick Rose won the MVP. Was one of the youngest people to ever do it. He was saying they might have been able to three-peat basically.
That's a question, but I mean, I think Derrick Rose got hurt the year or one of those years. So
yeah, I guess it's just something we have to leave up in the air because you really don't know.
Yeah, the past is the past.
I just thought it would be fun to, dive into that on the last topic of the show. So we want to thank all you guys for watching. We know it's a little rough still. We're still working it out. We hope you guys keep listening. Thank you so much.
We're getting there, people. Take care, everybody.
And join us next week on Steve and Matt Talk.